I'm on. Okay. Whew. Finally. Boy, I tell you, you know, when you're trying to do something and you get going and things just don't seem to go right. And I had this thing working at my house. Yeah, I'm going to keep going anyway. Thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you all for not thinking it robbery to take time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. Those of you that tune in on the airways, like us on YouTube, follow us on Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. Subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Like us, follow us on our Facebook group page, Church on Wheels, Let the Good News Roll. Facebook Live, Jeffrey Goodine. X, which is formerly Twitter. Goodine Jeffrey. Instagram, Goodine Jeffrey. And Clubhouse, Church on Wheels Ministry. Today we're going to continue in our Bible study in the book of John, John chapter 11. John chapter 11. Lazarus lives again, but I put here the miracle of miracles. The miracle of miracles. Now, they have been, you know, seeing Jesus and his miracles, but this is the miracle of miracles. And I want you to understand what we're saying here is that all miracles are miracles of miracles, I guess, when it happens to you. But from a perspective, it is a miracle of miracles. So tonight, John chapter 11, before I get started, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, TikTok, and Zoom. Send me an email at pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. That's pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com, and I will add you to the list, and you will get a copy of the handout so that you can follow along with us in Bible study. I'll give you a copy of the handout so you can follow along with us in Bible study. So tonight, John chapter 11. Now, in John chapter 11, you will notice that what Jesus was doing is he had been performing miracles, and the people had been mad at him because they say that he was doing it on the Sabbath. And not that he was healing the people, but because he did it on the Sabbath, and they didn't, you know, they didn't want to, they didn't want to accept him as to who he was or who he is. So they've been after him. He healed the man at the pool. When he healed him at the pool, he told him to, you know, to get up and, you know, get up, carry your bed, get your bed, and let's go. Well, they saw that he healed him on the Sabbath, so they got mad at it. Then you had the next healing, the healing of the blind man, and where he, you know, made spittle of clay and he wiped it on his eyes and told him to go to the pool, the pool of Siloam and wash. And well, when he went there and he washed, he came away seeing. And so then they called him in, his parents, and because everybody was saying that Jesus did the healing, and they wanted to say whether or not this man was healed from birth. And so they got the parents in, and then they was all after the parents, and then they called him back in, and you know, and they were saying that Jesus was a sinner and all of this. And what the man said was, I don't know if he's a sinner or not, but I can tell you I was blind, but now I see. And so, and he believed in it, and they kicked him out of the synagogue. Jesus saw it, and he went to Jesus and said, tell me, and I'm just paraphrasing, tell me who your God is so I can follow him. And what Jesus said is, if you want to see, when you're looking at me, you want to see the Father, you're looking at it. And the Bible says that he believed and he worshiped Jesus. But now we come to John chapter 11. Now, this is why I call it the miracle of miracles. And we all know about, if you have not heard the story, then you need to go to John chapter 11 and read the story of Lazarus. And we're going to focus on John chapter 11, verse 11. And then he said, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but now I will go and wake him up. In verse 11. And so Jesus was making reference to the fact that Lazarus was sleeping and not dead, in essence. So here, and again, we got the handout, so you follow along with us in the handout. Jesus left Judea because the Jewish religious leaders there were plotting to kill him. He wasn't afraid of death. He just knew that the time for it had not yet come. Then he got the message that prompted him to return. Jesus is still on his way to the cross. But he knew it was not time yet for him to lay his life down. So he left because he knew they were plotting to kill him. So in John chapter 11, I'll start in verse 1, and I'm reading from the, the King James Version tonight. Says, now a certain man was sick named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. And it was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Now this was back at their house. So therefore his sister sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, in whom thou lovest is sick. So he's talking about Lazarus. When Jesus heard that, he said, the sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now if you see here, Jesus is telling him he already knows. He already knows that Lazarus' sickness is not unto death, but whatever Lazarus is going through is for the glory of God. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, things that we're going through, we try to get rid of them, but that we need to use that to show the glory of God. We need to show our shortcomings and all the things that we do, our shortcomings, to the glory of God. Well, that's what it is. It's to the glory of God. Now, in verse 5, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Now, I want you to look at verse 6. Now, verse 6 is kind of important in this. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days, still in the same place where he was. Now, I want you to understand the significance of this. The man at the pool, Jesus healed him immediately. The blind man, Jesus healed him immediately. But here, someone that he loves, the Bible says he loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. But yet, when word came to him, and you know how it is, you know how it is, when we spread gossip. You know how when we spread news, somebody can say, so-and-so went to the doctor, and by the time they get back to you, you done dead, and your funeral next week. It's just the way it is. But think about him getting the word that Lazarus is sick unto death, and the word come to him. They say, he might be dead already. Jesus, you need to come on. He might be dead already. But Jesus stayed there for 2 days. And there's a significance behind the 2 days. So in those 2 days, I want you to think about this. And I want you to hold this. This is what they don't tell you about. This is not really talked about a lot. Is that Jesus heard about it. Jesus knew his sickness was not unto death. So he didn't rush. He didn't rush. 2 days he stayed where he was. 2 days. So to us, you know, we want it, what, yesterday? We want it yesterday. Like Jesus, I want my healing. Well, when you want your healing? Yesterday. Well, Jesus, well, what about tomorrow? No, I can't wait till tomorrow. And then what did Jesus say? Well, then, I'm going to call you on the night then. You like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to go now. I can wait. I can wait. But Jesus waited 2 days. Now, Lazarus, Mary, and Martha were siblings who lived in the Judean village of Bethany. All three were followers of and friends of Jesus. When Lazarus got sick, Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus. That set the stage for one of Jesus' most remarkable miracles, raising Lazarus from the dead. See, all of his other miracles as compared to this were, I guess all miracles are miracles, but these were, the other ones were like, I don't know, the small miracles, I guess, I don't know, however you want to look at it. Because trust me, if I was lame and he healed me of my lameness, that's a miracle of miracles. If I was blind and he healed me of my blindness, then that's a miracle of miracles. Well, now we get to see Jesus and the power at work. And then in verse 7, then after that said he to his disciples, let us go into Judea again. He's going back to where the people were trying to kill him. His disciples said unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? They say, why are we going back there? We got out of town safe. Why are you going back? And Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, but because he seeth the light of the world. Verse 10, but if a man walketh in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of his sleep. Now, Jesus, knowing that he's dead, knowing that when they came to him, and he stayed there 2 days, he knew Lazarus was dead. But he said, my friend sleepeth. Well, you know, they couldn't understand that. Then verse 12 said, then said his disciple, Lord, if he sleeps, he shall do well. He shall do well if he's just sleeping. But they had already come to the conclusion that Lazarus was dead. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking a resting sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, through the intent ye may believe. Hold on now, look what he's saying. I'm glad that I wasn't there, because what I'm getting ready to do is really going to test your belief. He said, to the intent that ye may believe. That means that this was done, my waiting 2 days was for a reason. For a reason. That you may believe. That, you know, they saw him heal the man of his lameness at the water. They saw him heal the blind man. Now he said, I'm getting ready to do something with the intent that you will now believe who I am. That you will now believe who I am. And he said, nevertheless, let us go unto him. What you think about this? Think about the things that happen in your life. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, Zoom, what is this over here? TikTok, whomever, everybody listening. You know what has happened in your life. And you wanted an immediate solution. But it didn't come. But when it came right on time. You couldn't have planned it no better. So you see, that was done. That was done so that you might believe in the one that you called on. See, you called on Jesus. Jesus didn't call on you. You called on Jesus in your time of despair, your time of, whatever was going on in your life. But you called on him and you wanted an immediate response. And Jesus was like, no, not now. But when it happened, you know what you said? Nothing but Jesus. Nothing but Jesus could have done that. So see, that was done so that you may believe. And you know what? Now this one, y'all got to pay for this one. Do you know that the people that do that still, a lot of them still don't accept him as their Lord and Savior? They know it was him. They called on him. He answered, and they still don't accept him as the Lord and Savior. Now, I don't know. And remember, everything that happens in our lives is what? The miracle of miracles. Everything that happens in our life is a miracle of miracles. I don't care how many times you do it, it's a miracle of miracles. So, we got it. Now, I want you to understand, I want to get this out. In verse 12, said, then said the disciples, Lord, if you see, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death. But they thought that he had spoken of taking, of resting, sleep. Jesus was talking about him sleeping. They thought, okay, he's sleeping. But Jesus was speaking of his death. Then Jesus said, Lazarus is dead. Let's get this right. Lazarus is dead. The hardships in your life are the hardships in your life. Let's just be real. He's telling you that yes, you don't have no food on the table. Yes, they get ready to turn your lights off. Yes, you're sick, and yes, those things are going on in your life. But nevertheless, I'm here to see you. Nevertheless, I'm here to see you. And when we open our hearts in our times of trouble, do you know there's a calmness that comes over us that nobody can understand? And that calmness is Jesus. He showed up. He didn't show up when you wanted him. He showed up right on time. He showed up right on time. Then said Thomas, which is called the Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, let us also go that we may die with him. They're going to mourn with him. They have accepted Lazarus' death. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. 4 days. So if he was 4 days, so that meant that the 2 days that Jesus was there, that they brought word to him. And in a couple of days, he was dead. Dead 4 days. Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off. Many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. All of them had seen, all of the people in Bethany knew that Lazarus was dead. They were comforting the sister. Don't you understand? The whole town knew that Lazarus was dead. The whole town knew. Because they was there comforting Mary and Martha. So you see the stage that Jesus is setting. He said what? So that you may believe. That you may believe. Verse 20. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him. But Mary sat still in his house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. Now that shows you their belief in Jesus and Jesus' power. They said, Jesus, if you were here, he would not have died. He said, but I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it to thee. Isn't that an inkling as to them asking Jesus to do something? Think about it. She said, if you had been here, he would have died. He said, but now, even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it to you. In other words, they're kind of on the slide saying to Jesus, you can still ask God. You can still ask God, and God will give it to you. And then Jesus said unto her, thy brother shall rise again. And this is where we sometimes fall short in our belief. Verse 24, Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? Now, Jesus said, remember in Isaiah, in Zechariah, what did he say? What coming? Salvation coming. He's riding on a donkey. Salvation is coming. So when you see the prophecy, Jesus' salvation. So if salvation is coming in on the donkey, then that's Jesus. And then Jesus saying that I am the resurrection and the life. I am the salvation. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And when she had said so, she went her way and called Mary her sister secretly, saying, The Master is come and calleth for thee. As soon as she heard that, she rose quickly and came unto him. And now verse 30, I want you to take it. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but that was the place where Martha met him. He hadn't even gotten to Bethany yet. He hadn't even gotten to Bethany yet. That ought to take us back to when Daniel prayed 21 days. And when the archangel got there, what did he tell Daniel? We heard your prayer as soon as you did. But I had to fight. I had to fight 21 days to get to you. Now, that means that archangel was saying that there were demons and things surrounding you, and I had to fight. You know, part of our problem is because Jesus wants to answer, but we got so many demons around us, he's got to fight them to get to us. If we understand that, then we probably, be a little bit more patient and let Jesus things work on time. Now, in verse 29, as soon as she heard that, she rose quickly and came unto him. Now, when Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him, the Jews then which were with her in the house and comforted her, when they saw Mary, they rose up hastily and went out, followed her, saying, She goeth unto the grave to weep there. Now they're saying that they comfort her, but she left the house. They think she's going to the grave. They think she's going to the grave. They in the house, you know how it is in the house, everybody crying, and you know what I tell you though, when everybody crying, Jesus healing. When everybody crying, Jesus is healing. But we spend too much time on ourselves. Said 32 says, then when Mary was come where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. Now here comes Martha first, now Mary, saying the same thing. That is how much they believed in Jesus. Now let me ask you a question. Or everybody that's tuning in right now, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that if Jesus had been there, that there would not be them troubles in your life? Is that what you're saying? That if Jesus, if you had been here, they wouldn't have turned my lights off. Jesus, if you had been here, there would have been food on my table. Jesus, if you'd have been here, they wouldn't have fired me from my job. Jesus, if you'd have been here, Jesus, if you'd have been here, ... You fill in the blanks. You fill in the blank. Where's your belief in Jesus? You said you believed in him. You called on him. Is it because he didn't answer you when you wanted an answer? Well, Mary and Martha, they called on Jesus, but he didn't answer them when they wanted him to 2 days ago, or not 4 days. They didn't answer him. So that's just like us. I won't say this. We called on it, but we want it right now. Now, if you got it right now, would that be for the glory of God, or would that be for your what word I want to use? Selfishness. Your selfishness. Jesus said no. No. If you had been here, my brother would still be alive. They knew Jesus had the power to do it. They knew he had the power to do it. They knew it. But they asked. He said, now when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in his spirit and was troubled. Here's that human side of Jesus again. Here's that human side. He was troubled and said, where hath he laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. Now verse 35. I don't want nobody memorizing this verse because this is the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. I don't want nobody remembering that. Okay? Don't remember that. When somebody asks you, well, give me a Bible verse, you say Jesus wept. Yes, I know it's in there, but no. No. That's the shortest verse in the Bible. No. Do not remember.
You want a long verse.
Yeah, I want a long verse. Give me something. Give me something with some, something else. Don't use that one. Don't use that one, okay? Jesus wept. That is another what? Another human characteristic. Another human characteristic. So this proved, this showed and answered that Jesus is God incarnate. That Jesus in human form still had human characteristics and human attributes. He wept. He was troubled. Then said the Jews, behold, how he loved him. And some of them said, could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, that means that they heard about that miracle. Some of them probably saw it. Some of them probably know the man he healed. Could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? Now they wondered, if he performed the miracle of opening the guy's eyes, could he have prevented Lazarus' death? So you see, they know who he is. They know who he is. They know who he is. But they don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit it. Now we get to the juicy part. Everybody say the good part.
Good part.
All right, y'all ain't say it loud enough. Say the good part. The good part. All right, the good part. Jesus, at verse 38, Jesus therefore again groaning in himself, coming to the grave. It was a cave and a stone laid upon it. Jesus said, take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said to the Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he had been dead 4 days. Jesus said unto her, said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? If you believe, you should see the glory of God. You see it all around. Said, then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, now look, I want you to understand something here. Did Jesus do the healing? No. Or did the Father do the healing? Through Jesus. Okay? Look at what he said. Look what happened. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Jesus did a prayer. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. Now Jesus is praying. Now he's praying to what we call the second audience. He's praying to the people that are there. And he's saying, Father, this is so that they would believe. That they would know that you sent me. Not me on my own. What Jesus kept telling, it's not what I'm doing, it's what the Father is doing. They wouldn't believe that's what Jesus prayed. This is why I call it the miracle of miracles. I'm going to tell you this. If you look at the other two miracles, the healing of the man at the pool and at the blind man, you'll see that Jesus did not do no lengthy prayer. He just did it. He just asked him, did you believe? Or get up and go do this. He let their beliefs. But now Jesus is saying that because of the people which stand by, I said it. That they may believe that thou hast sent me. He said, Father, I want them to see that you had sent me. That meant Jesus was praying to the Father. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Those are some magical words in the Bible. Lazarus, come forth. Verse 44 says that he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus saith unto them, loose him and let him go. The miracle of miracles. The miracle of miracles. Lazarus, come forth. Now 4 days, they say he stinketh by now and all of that other good stuff. But you got to see, why did Jesus pray? He prayed for the second audience. He prayed, he wanted the people who were standing there watching to know that it wasn't him, but it was the Father that sent him to do this. Because back, remember he said that this was so that they may believe. The Father do things so that you may believe. And it's done through Jesus. So that you may believe. Now, let me ask you this. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, Zoom, TikTok, anybody that can hear me. when you called on Jesus when nobody was around, did you believe he would do it? You called on him. I'll tell you what. You surely didn't call on Pastor Goodine. I can tell you that. Because if you would call on Pastor Goodine, I'd probably tell you, you might be in some trouble. Both of us. Yeah, you got the wrong number. It's probably going to voicemail and all of that stuff. And even I might tell you, we both need to go to Jesus. But think about it. Jesus said that I'm not leaving now because this incident or this situation here now is to test your belief. Test your belief. And then after 4 days of Lazarus in the grave, and all of these people are standing around looking, what did Jesus do? Jesus prayed to the Father. He said, Father, I want to thank you for, now I'm just paraphrasing this. He said, Father, I want to thank you that you heard me. I know you hear me all the time, but the people that are around me now, I want them to know that it is you and you only. You and you only. You and you only. That you're God all by yourself. And then he said, so that they might believe. That they might believe. Now, you miss a lot of this. It's because when people say Jesus, he raised Lazarus from the dead, they miss all of these details. They think that Jesus went up there and raised Lazarus from the dead. No, he didn't. He prayed to the Father that those people might believe. He prayed to the Father that those people who are looking, that they might believe. And the only way they were going to believe is that they had to see a miracle of miracles. And they had to see something. And what did he do? God used the raising of Lazarus from the dead to prove to them that Jesus was sent by him. That only Jesus had the power to do this. Only Jesus could do this. So now, this is what I want to say. He exalted Jesus in their eyes so that they would know who God is. Did I get that right? Yeah. He exalted Jesus in their eyes so that they will know who the Father is. The Father was the one that sent Jesus. The miracle of miracles. All right, here we go. Let's go to the handout. There are three takeaways from the story that are as important today as they were 2,000, and that's supposed to be years ago. So if you got a pen, I made a mistake. That's supposed to be years right beside the 2,000. So can you get a pen and write that in, please? I made a mistake. There are three takeaways from the story that are important as important today as they were 2,000 years ago. First, the Lord's timing is perfect. You know them 2 weeks, a month that you had to wait for your answer, but when you got your answer, it was right on time. It was perfect timing. That's the Lord's timing. Jesus could have rushed to Bethany and saved Lazarus on his deathbed. the impact wouldn't have been nearly as great. So Jesus waited. Neither his disciples nor Mary could understand why. Why? Because remember, what did Jesus say back here at the beginning? That Jesus said, yes, the sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified. So now Jesus get to be glorified. Why? It's because they get to see the power of the Father or the one that sent him. But Jesus prayed to God first for this. So that what? So by him praying to God first and them seeing this, Jesus was glorified. Jesus was glorified. But Jesus was praying to the Father that those people might believe. So he now believes, and them standing there watching Lazarus come from the grave, they now are glorifying Jesus. They now know who he is. Let me back up. They accept who he is by the Son of God. So first it was timing. But Jesus said, the sickness, I'm not rushing, because now here's an opportunity. God is using this as an opportunity so that they will know who he is. See, sometimes we have to sit back and watch the glory of God. We have to sit back and watch. You know, we rush too fast. You know, we rushing off to work and we rushing home and we rushing to do this and we rushing to do that and all of that. And we miss the glory of God. That's why, you know, the old saying, stop and smell the roses. Stop and smell the roses. Just stop for a few minutes and smell the roses and look at the majesty of God. So let's look at the rose. The majesty of God. We can say what? A rose has thorns, or we can say thorns have a rose. Thorns have a rose. And roses have thorns. So you would only know that if you did what? Stop and smell the rose. You would only know that. All right. The right thing to do at the right time to do it seems obvious to them, but they couldn't see the big picture. That's why it's important for us to pray to God to work in his way, in his time. Like I said before, we want it when? Yesterday. God said, no, not right now. So, take it for what it's worth. All right, number two. Second, Jesus empathizes with us. In Hebrews 4:15 said Jesus faced all the same tests as we do, yet he did not sin. Yes, he did. Why did he taste everything that we do? Why? Because he was in his human form. In his human form, he was tempted. Trust me. Tempted 40 days and 40 nights. We get tempted what? 1, maybe 2 days. You know, before we get in. I'm just saying.
Sometimes every other hour.
Right. Sometimes, you're right, Mike. Sometimes every other hour. So, he also experienced all the same emotions we have. He wept. And again, do not memorize that verse. He wept.
It's too late.
It's too late. It's too late.
Too late. If you hadn't said anything,
I know. If I hadn't said anything, nobody would have said anything about it.
Yeah.
Now, when anybody asks you, they say, "Well, give me a verse out of the Bible." You say Jesus wept, and then everybody go, "What?" And you go, "Yeah, Jesus wept." But he also he did other things too. You know, in this he felt sad. Jesus got hungry. Okay. Now, If you know, when he got hungry, remember on the way to Jerusalem, he saw from afar off, he saw the fig tree. And he saw the tree with leaves on it. But when he got up to it, there was no fruit. So he cursed it.
And it died.
And it died. That's the same as us. From a distance, it looked like we are Christians. From a distance, it looked like everything's going on. From a distance, it looks like we all get along. But up close, we don't. From a distance, it looked like we're going to bear some fruit. But when they get up close, it's not. It says he laughed, he celebrated, he got angry, and he cried. And he knew better than anyone else how Lazarus' story was going to end. That's why I say he already knew the end. When he saw the people mourning, he joined them. This is when he felt bad for them. This is when all of them were crying. When all of them were weeping. When all of them were around, Jesus felt it also.
He felt the emotion.
He felt the emotions of them. He hurt because others hurt. That's why he's able to comfort us so effectively. He hurts when we hurt. He knows not only how we feel, but also how our story will end. That's what I like about it. He already knows how our story going to end. He knows when our tears will dry and what good will ultimately come from the situation. He gives us the opportunity to show the same kind of empathy and love to other hurting people. You know, we got a saying, as long as it's over there, it's over there. You know, as long as if it's over there, it's over there. Let it stay over there. But what did Jesus, I'm just saying, what did Jesus say? Well, you hurting, you over there, and I'm over here. Well, then you stay over there. We'd be in a whole lot of trouble. We'd be in a whole lot of trouble. Number three, third, nothing is beyond the Lord's power. Martha and Mary